what has been interesting to watch is as BI as a market has matured, there's been a broader push towards, you can think about embedded plays specifically, which is distributing your BI tools inside of other websites or inside of maybe internal portals that you have. But really from a technology perspective, you've seen the growth of APIs, where legacy players have been integrating more and more APIs into their tools. And then cloud native players start with a massive suite of APIs. That is the new language that ties everything together. And what we do with Curator is we maintain those connections. On top of that, to allow for your end user, that poor overworked BI team, to be able to maintain this analytics hub and present that content they spent a long time working on. So when we talk about building out an analytics hub, it really is a build versus buy scenario. We have clients who do both. It is not a hard requirement to be an Interworks client that you have to buy Curator. But typically the pattern that we've seen is you have either a team of web developers who are able to be dedicated to this tool, who are able to maintain the API connections to Tableau, Power BI, ThoughtSpot, make sure that everything is connected up and good to go, and then be able to build and maintain that hub going forward. Or they can outsource that and have Ben and his team who maintain Curator act as that accelerator. The typical runway that we see for building out your own hub is about 6 months. And that's not because it's not a priority, and it's not because there's no talent from the development team. In fact, I've seen some really good ones that have been built. But what it required was a dedicated project, a dedicated series of sprints to go through, and a large investment in terms of scarce web dev resources to make that happen. And then you end up with a really good product, but you then have to have ongoing maintenance of that going forward. So that's kind of the build side of the coin, and that's great. And again, APIs are becoming more and more native, treated as first-class citizens with all these BI tools we've been talking about. So that is a great approach. Curator is a way to say, you know what, my dev talent is scarce. So I want to have my non-technical users be able to build this out. The 2+ weeks you see in there is really around setup cost. There is usually a lightweight web server that hosts Curator for you, but we can even host that for you if you want a SaaS-like experience. But what we're going to do now actually is not have you just believe what I'm saying here, but we want to go in and show you what this process looks like of building out your own analytics hub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out of PowerPoint for a little bit. You'll see my wife and kids popping up there for a second. And then, Ben, can you just give me a thumbs up? Can you see the Chrome window that we're looking at?
Yep, we got it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So what we've got here is the exact scenario that's been set up to mimic a lot of what our clients go through. We have a Tableau environment, Tableau branding there at the top, very familiar kind of safety blanket for me. I know this area well. This is where I can go and I can find my exact dashboard that I'm interested in. All right, I've got the full interactivity that I'm used to. I can go in and see the filtering, the highlighting. It's great. I have this dashboard. I know if I want my customer analysis, I'm good to go here. At the same time, we're going to go over to ThoughtSpot. And then inside of there, we have a live board that we can look at, which is also showing a series of KPIs for this Interburger. It's a fake company, fake restaurant chain that Interworks owns. And we're able to run around and play with, again, same interactivity, got that experience. I can then go over to Power BI. Right? You can pull up different reports that are available. This is just a sample one that comes with Power BI. Didn't want to put any of our company data up. But the point is, what we have here is 3 different answers, quotes around it, 3 different analyses that we want people to have access to and be able to experience. If you look between the 3 of these, we've got the information that's being presented, but each one looks like its own thing. I can tell that this is a ThoughtSpot experience. It's got the ThoughtSpot logo, it's got the menus. Same thing on Power BI. It's got all the different capabilities that are available, the Power BI branding, nice and slick. Same thing with Tableau, very clean, modern feel that's there. Got your different capabilities and things that are possible. Now, I remember where all these things are, but I want to bring them together. And on top of that, I want to make it look like Interworks, right? So this is just the Interworks homepage that we've got. And what I want to do is create something that doesn't necessarily look like the same headers that are here. I don't want it to have these menus that are really good in the context of your BI tool, but not great in the context of presenting your culture and making it feel like your own. A big part of adoption is making sure that your end users feel comfortable and feel at home. One of our customers, Arbys, who uses Curator built out their Curator environment to have logos that looked like their menu. And so they came in and all of a sudden the people who were looking for analyses, their employees logged in and said, oh, I get this. I'm at home. And our net promoter scores have gone on a BI tool from 3 to 7 just by introducing Curator because it has that feel of what you're interested in. So I've got right here a very vanilla Curator environment. Right, kind of side navigation. We've got a home page. We've got a search that we can look through. We've got a tutorial page. This is what it would look like if you just started a new trial. Your brand new shiny Curator instance, you're good to go. What we're going to do right now is walk you through all the steps to build out your own branded experience. Now, I cut my teeth training people on Tableau and other BI tools. I'm going to run through this much faster than I would in a training. So for the webinar replay, maybe drop the speed down to 0.5 if you try to use it as like a tutorial or a how-to. But the point here is to show you not necessarily all the right places to click, because I guarantee I will click wrong somewhere, but it's to show you the ease of getting something like this up and running. Again, we're talking ROI, we're talking about saving time. The goal here is speed. We want this to be something where you can have multiple tools off and running and ready for the races. And we're going to do it as someone who has absolutely no web coding background, which is myself. So if you look at the back end of Curator, right, it's just byoung.portals.interworks.com. You can't get to this public facing, sorry, but if you do a trial, you're more than welcome to. What we're going to do is we're going to first go in and try and make this look like the Interworks homepage. So I'm going to come down here on the settings on Curator, go to our themes. There's just going to be one main theme. It's right there. This is our global theme that gets applied. I'm going to start playing around. So I can see up here, we've got Curator as the site name. I want this to be Interworks Analytics. And then we need a logo that's happening. So I'm going to pop over here. We're cheating a little bit. Marketing has made our lives very easy by giving us a logo generator. And so I want this 400 pixel Interworks logo. And then I know I want a favicon as well, which is the little image that shows up next to or in the corner of your browser tab. So I'll download that one. So now I have my logo, my image. I'll come back to the back end of Curator. And then it's a nice, easy drag and drop. And we'll bring it up. And then you can see the favicon is in there. The logo has showed up on the side. And it's not really popping in. I do know just from poking around and making sure that this would look good is that we need to have this logo padding that's on there. So trust me that that's going to be in there. You have full control over playing around with what those patterns look like. Now on the home page, you can see that we've got different options. We could put a dashboard on here. We could put a masonry layout. We could put our own custom page that we built. I'll get to that. But right now it's on the tutorial homepage, which is fine. If I go back to the Interworks homepage, we've got the white menu top and we've got the black image, and then we've got the black background. For me, in this case, I think the image will be able to hold the background well enough. So I'm going to actually change this background here under our global setting. Make the main body, we'll just make that white. And then that text will disappear, but we're going to be able to play around with this. Now I'm going to come over to our fonts next, just to show you. We can play around with custom fonts if we want. They've been uploaded. I'm not going to change any of the text because I don't mind this being black on the white that we have. But on menu, this is where we're going to start playing around. Again, as a non-developer, I'm able to come in and change this from a side navigation to simply a top navigation. So now we have a different setup across the top. If I go back to the Interworks, we've got a white background with black text. So we can swap these around. White background on the navigation. The text is going to be just black. We're good to go. I don't think we need a highlight color. But coming in underneath the menu, we actually don't have a center alignment. So Ben, if we could add that to the backlog, that would actually be really cool. But
already there.
Already there. Yes. Thank you, Ben. But instead, I'll pop it over to the right just to show you again. Things are moving around as I'm adapting to them. And then for a menu text, we can play around with some font transformations. I'm going to change it to uppercase as things go in. And so you can see those are now adapted and have moved with this live preview. Sometimes, just as you're playing with this, by the way, you'll see some bizarre delay between this and what you've chosen. That has to do with how it's interacting with Chrome's cache, which also is on the backlog that we're working on. So we've got that menu set up. We have our home page. We have a link out to a file. We have our search. And we're getting to the point where we're looking pretty good. So I'm going to go back to the back end. And then here, I'm just going to hit refresh. And we're going to see if we run into that cache challenge. And so far, things are looking pretty good. Okay, we've got the Interworks homepage. We've got Interworks Analytics. You can see it up top. Our favicon has now showed up. We've got our branding and our logo that we're interested in. There's some things I could nitpick and play around with if I indulge my OCD for a little bit, but we're going to put that aside and run with things for now. And what I want to do now is start playing with this homepage. So we've got the Interworks homepage, and I am going to take a shortcut a little bit. I'm not going to recreate the carousel effect that we have right here. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to take a quick snip. I'll grab that. We'll save that image as the Interworks hero image. And a hero image is just a web dev term for having it be that big headline image that's there across the top. I'll now go into the back end, and I know I have this tutorial page that's there. So under content, you can see we actually have a lot more content that's than just your analytics content. So we have the Tableaus, the ThoughtSpots, the Power BIs that are there for you to be able to go in and bring in analytics content. That's good, and that should show up. But a lot of our users who use Curator want to do more than just Tableau content or more than just ThoughtSpot content. And so we have the ability to play around with things like tutorials you can put on top of your content. We can build out custom web pages that are here. So what I'm going to do is I will drop that guy, and we'll just build out a new Interworks homepage. And so I've got what's called Page Builder here on the back end. But think of this like a WordPress Lite. I'm going to come in. I've got my elements that I can play around with. If I hit Change Element, you'll see all the different elements that we've made kind of an easy button for you. The goal here is to be able to make it so that you can add in what your end users need as you're building out this custom experience. So we're going to come back to that hero image, but just to call out, we have things like search, text, buttons, media, tabbed pages, user customized metrics. There are different things that we can do that are available as elements, including different analytics elements here. If I wanted to just put a dashboard, I could drop it straight on here. We have dashboards from multiple BI tools, not only the headline integrations of Tableau, ThoughtSpot, and Power BI, but we also have simple integrations for things like Looker, Stigma, SSRS to be able to have all of this in one place. If you want to get very fancy, you're welcome to go and play with some embed code or some unrestricted HTML. I don't touch that because I tend to break things despite my best efforts. So I'm actually going to add in a blank element first because I want some spacing between the menu and the picture. And coming in along the side, what I'm going to do is change this to be the full width and then simply make the background color black because I know that's the color image we're dealing with. I can then come in and drop another thing below. We're going to add in the hero image that we just brought in. So I'm going to click here and find out that hero image. We add it in. That was still available from the demo. I clicked too fast, but even if it's not readily available for you, you can go and you can upload a file, and there's the hero image that's available. So we could bring that in if we want. I'll just take advantage of the fact that it was already there. And same thing, we've got our hero settings, and we can make this be that full width. No background color is needed, but I do need to come in and give myself a little bit more room to spread that out. So I think 500 is a decent height. It's in here. And then beneath that, I'm just going to add another blank element because I like white space, or in this case, dark space in between. So full width, background color, it's going to go to black. And then we have our home page that we're working off of. Let me create that. And now we're good to go. If I came back and refreshed this, nothing would change, right? All I've done is in Curator, I've built out a page that I can reference. So if I then come over on Curator, go back to my themes, I can go to that main theme again. And for my home page, I have the Interworks homepage that I can drop in. Now I'm going to hit save there. And then I'll come back and refresh here to see what we're looking at. And now we're getting somewhere, right? We've got our home page. Yeah, the sizing a little bit different. Again, my OCD could go back and match it so it's exactly the same, or I could rebuild the carousel. But we're really just showing kind of proof of concept here on what is possible. We started with a very Curator branded thing, and already 10 minutes in, we have an Interworks branded story that we're working on. But even with that, we've got a home page. We have a file that just came by default where we talk about kind of UX UI guidelines, right? So these menus don't have to be limited just analytics content, but I want to actually start building in that analytics content. So on the back end, we have our integrations. I cheated to set these up already because there's a lot of buttons to fill in, and buttons to push, blanks to fill in, right? So if we're looking back at like our Tableau connection that's here, you go in, you're spelling out, this is the server I'm connecting to. You can go through and you're passing in the URL, you're setting your authentication, passing passwords and everything, right? Curator inherits all of the security that you have in your existing BI tools, so you don't have to worry about setting that up twice. But what that enables is if we go back in and we create a new dashboard or bring in a new dashboard, I can go in and I can find something that's already been created. We have the same thing for Interburger live boards. We have the same thing for ThoughtSpot dashboards that are available, right? So all of these, we have done the hard work connecting the APIs out to the various services so you can bring them in easily so that something shows up. Then I'm going to be clicking buttons for a little bit just to kind of show off what that process looks like. But curious on your perspective here. I know you spend a lot of time working with the devs and working with clients who use a lot of these other features. Do you want any you want to call out while I'm bringing these in?
Yeah, let's do it. So I mean, the first thing I'd call out is not just are we making it easier to bring the content in, but we are aware of the security you've already applied. So, you know, if you've published things to Tableau, you've probably given some thought to who should see this and who shouldn't see this, especially if you're in a secure environment. And Curator takes that into context. And so when a user logs in, we check what they have access to, and we adapt the menu system and the pages to that content. So the menus and things like that will roll up, right? So they may not see the same thing that you would see if you logged in. And it's really beneficial to just kind of making this customized right out of the box. One thing I will say though, is you can turn those checks off and you can actually put a default page in when they access something they don't have permission to. That's really great if you want to put up a form for someone to request access to it, or if you're creating a data monetization type site and you want to be able to say like, hey, upgrade and get these new things. So a lot of features like that that Curator supports to kind of drill down. As far as other features that, you know, I think are worth talking about, tutorials, Ben Young mentioned earlier. But tutorials, we actually allow you to take an image of the dashboard and highlight pieces of that dashboard as you're going. So you can really guide people through exactly how to use a dashboard. You can highlight, you know, a chart or a control and describe what's going on and give them that extra context. So that can be very, very helpful. The other thing I'll mention along the APIs is, you know, we're talking about ROI kind of over and over again. But remember that the first time build cost is not where the true expense lives. The true expense is actually after you build it and you have to maintain the thing. And so, you know, places or tools like Tableau have recently gone through an upgrade of their APIs from version 2 to version 3, and that is a breaking change. And so things like that come out of the box in Curator and are providing you that support so you don't have to experience those breaks as they happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Now, as I was going through, kind of Ben was describing those, you saw me add in a live board and the Power BI dashboard that are in here. I've now come back to my navigation where we're trying to build out what is available across the top. So by default, a Tableau dashboard creates a navigation link, but I actually want to add in a couple more menu links that we can work with. And so in this case, we're going to go in and grab a Power BI dashboard. We're just going to take the same title that's there. Again, when we're looking at discoverability, like we were talking about, distribution of content, you can have your own SDLC naming convention if you need like a dash prod or a dash or an underscore test or something like that, right? And then you can add additional layer on top where you're then able to have a different naming convention to make it easier to find inside of Curator. But we've got a link here for our IT spend analysis, our Power BI report. Then we're going to go down and grab the Interburger live board, which is, we're just going to bring it up right here, right? So I'm building out these links so that what happens is I now have full control over this experience. Right? If I go back to my homepage and now refresh this, coming in across the top, we now have access to all of these different dashboards. We're in a web-based experience. We're in a website that's branded like ours, but I can go and I can choose whatever tool that I want. Then I love this as a non-developer. If I wanted to move content to the back, I can nest, I can unnest, I can drag, and I can drop, and then it's a simple refresh. And the idea of moving a menu over is something that is now taken care of for me. right? It's little things like that that can spend a surprising amount of time that make me really grateful for what Interworks and Curator provide. So we've got these links in here. If I click on customers, you can see what it looks like, right? Where we'll go in. And so you've got the title of your dashboard. You've got your Tableau experience, right? Fully embedded, full interactivity that's available. And then all the other fun features that we can actually extend beyond that. We don't have time to cover those today, but there's a lot kind of under the hood that Curator can do that's beyond just the typical embed of your different BI tools. Just to show you they're actually here. Here is our Power BI dashboard that we're looking at, and then our Interburger Live board, all inside the same environment. And you have the ability to go in and have those different analyses that are there together. Now, one last thing I want to play with is I actually want to feature these on the homepage. So I'm going to go back in again, just to show you how easy this is. I'm going to go to my Interworks homepage that we've built out. And then as that loads, looks like we've got this guy in here. We can have a row style. Prefer that background color to actually take that black. It's been kind of fighting me this time. So let me drop that on there. And then I'm going to add a new element. I'm going to add some tiles. So this is tiles out to any content that's featured here in Curator. And so row standard, I'm actually going to keep it as standard. Full width to me stretches, it's fine, but I don't actually need that. The tile selection, content type can come through anything. So we could feature menus. We could feature only Tableau reports. We could feature only keyword pages that we've built out to show certain types of content. In this case, I featured all of the things. So kind of magic under the hood there. I made sure that these were featured dashboards, so they showed up. I'm going to change it to a circle because I think circles look nicer than squares. And then we will save this and let it run. Going to hit refresh here. And in roughly 15 minutes, we now have a functioning analytics hub. Now, it's not done. Don't get me wrong. We need to put in some more work into this to make it useful for my end users. I want to have people be able to come in and search for maybe finance as a keyword and bring back all of the different content that's available. We need to make sure that works. We need to maybe play around with these menus to nest them inside each other. Definitely need to fix a thumbnail here so that it shows up and we have what's needed. But the point is, we're talking speed, we're talking time to value, and Curator makes it so you can build your own analytics hub very, very quickly.